And we'll move into managing stress. So somebody talked about stress, and this is something that we deal with all the time, and I'm sure now it feels even more so. I saw a talk last week with some psychotherapists who work with people in a cancer center, and they said their cancer patients are telling them, hey, it's like we can tell people now who are dealing with these times is that this is kind of the uncertainty that we have learned to deal with having cancer. So it may not be new, but it certainly adds more uncertainty to the mix. So we're designed to deal with a certain amount of stress. We couldn't survive without the stress response. What can hurt us, though, is the sustained stress response, when those hormones that are released by stress, so you have cortisol and you have things like epinephrine, and they go up. And if the stress stays constant, then you have this constant level of these hormones and chemicals that really are supposed to go back down again in a short period of time. And what can happen is these hormones and chemicals make our organs and tissues function differently. And eventually it can compromise our health, as well as make us feel anxious or depressed or have trouble sleeping. It also draws attention of our immune cells away from doing their day jobs. And part of the day job of the immune system, or actually what I mean by their job, is to go around looking for things that shouldn't be there, like viruses and cancer cells, and then killing them and getting rid of them. So stress begins to preoccupy the immune system, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Managing stress is not the same as getting rid of stress. It's really impossible to get rid of stress. We have stresses with us, but it's not only the challenging situation that's stress, it's also your response to the situation. So even if you can't change the stresses in your life, we're not going to be able to make COVID-19 go away for a while, right? But we might still be able to manage the response. And there are lots of tools for taming the stress response. But one of the best things you can do to manage stress is something you do 12 times a minute, and that's breathe. And you don't even think about it. But often when you are under stress, we hold our breaths or we're breathing very shallowly. So I'm going to give you a gift here of Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, who's a co-founder of Commonweal, and she is going to lead us in a breathing technique. And I'd like you to sit up straight in your chair, both feet on the floor, and I'm going to let Rachel take it from here to remember ourselves through breathing.
I would have done something very simple. I would have said, let's just take a moment and remember ourselves. And let's just do that right now, because this is a very basic thing. Just allow yourself to put down whatever you're holding. Now, when you give an instruction to people, they do what you just did. They put down whatever they're holding, right? But they also put down whatever they're holding inside. And what they're holding inside may be very constrictive, smaller than who they are. It's an invitation that is accepted at every level of the human being. The level that's holding on to the pen and the paper, and the level that's been holding on to something for years. Put down whatever you're holding. And take a moment and begin to follow your breath. Just notice your breath coming and going in you. Just notice that. Just put your attention on your breath. yourself notice the wisdom of the breath. We let go of whatever is old and used up and no longer supports our lives. Notice how you let go, how easily you can let go of whatever is old and used up and no longer supports your life. Just notice that out breath, how easily you breathe out. And then we take on what is new and fresh and life-affirming. And notice that too. Letting go of the old that no longer supports life. Taking on the new, the fresh, the life-affirming. I mean, how wise is this? And you've been doing this since the moment you were born. You do it 12 times a minute without noticing. And now see if you can put your attention at the very end of your out-breath. There's a little nanosecond there, little moment of stillness and silence and peace and rest. It doesn't last very long, but it's exceptionally deep. See if you can notice that little silence, that little stillness. That silence that's at the center of your being. You come home to yourself 12 times a minute without noticing. And be there in that little moment as deeply as you can. Surrender into it every time you arrive there. This takes practice, but just start now. Anytime you need to remember yourself and take refuge in yourself, in the silence, which is always with you. You don't have to remember anything. It's there. You just have to go home to it. In a difficult procedure, you know, if you're a person with cancer, you're faced with a lot of difficult procedures. I'm faced with a lot of difficult procedures even now, after all these years. Take refuge in yourself. Nothing to remember, no tapes, nothing. You always have your breath with you. You're coming to a place of refuge in yourself 12 times a minute.